Miller's Crossing is the next episode after The Seer, and while I wouldn't call it a direct continuation, since there's a strong difference in terms of both tone and focus, it nevertheless builds upon The Seer. You can see that because McKay is busy banging his head against the problem of the replicator code. The other members of the team want to bring in Todd to help, but McKay shoots the idea down because of what happened last time. Zelenka finally just tells McKay to email his sister for help rather than sitting here doing nothing.
The last time we had a block like this, she helped us through it, right?
It was something completely different.
I cannot sit here waiting for you to have an epiphany. I'm losing the will to live.
Have your life's work burned before you on an annual basis, and then you'll learn what losing the will to live means. So McKay agrees to send it to Jeannie, who interrupts baking cookies in order to work on deciphering alien computer code. Wait, is that Windows compatible? Is it a good idea to have that on your laptop? Who knows what could happen if you have that on there? I told you, anything could happen. She's abducted, and after the titles, we pick up at the SGC, where Rodney, Shepard, and Ronan have arrived to deal with this, coordinating with Barrett of the NID, since this is probably related to the Stargate activity.
Yes, the NID is liaising with CSIS on the ground. They are expecting us.
See what now? Canadian Security Intelligence Services. They're kind of like our CIA. CSIS. That's the best you guys can do, huh?
Ah, yeah, the inter-country rivalry. Look, there's no need to mock the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, all right? That guy works really hard. They arrive at Jeannie's house, where Rodney doesn't get the nicest welcome from her husband.
Listen to me. We're gonna...
This is your fault, Rodney.
Hey, just a second.
She got kidnapped because of you.
Well, geez, pardon me for trying to save the human race. What a dick I am. Seems that before Todd even showed up, Rodney and Jeannie were discussing how to modify the code that he'd used to save Dr. Weir to better be able to serve medical needs. Obviously, the new code that they were discussing was dealing with the replicator apocalypse. Medical techniques are great, but not terribly effective after an orbital bombardment. You're not going to hoover up the crater and say, well, it's in your hands now, Dr. Nanites. Rodney digs into the laptop while Jeannie is dragged into a computer lab by the bad guys, who no doubt plan to torture her to give up her secrets. Now, my dear, you will begin translating this C++ into Haskell using no interface but this stylus. Actually, the guy she meets there, Henry Wallace, releases her from the zip ties and starts explaining what's going on. But meanwhile, Rodney and Barrett are heading to the place where they think these people are monitoring Jeannie from, letting Shepard and Ronan know since they're not on this planet for their skills in forensics. But Rodney is anxious and calls while he's on the road to the place, and then refuses to wait for the two of them that are, well, best suited to handle this sort of thing. That's not normal for him, but I'm betting the accusation from Jeannie's husband is still stinging, that Rodney wouldn't have put her in this position if he'd just come up with the answer himself. In the end, though, Barrett's knocked out and Rodney is kidnapped too. Rodney gets tossed in with Jeannie so she can complain at him until Wallace shows up. The guy knows way more than he should, including the subcutaneous transmitter that Rodney has for situations like this. It's been turned off, dirty cheater. The reason this guy knows about it, though, is because his company actually makes those for the Stargate program. But he's not supposed to know about where all the technology is coming from. The cover story is that this is stuff from declassified military programs.
The latest project my company has been working on for the SGC involves applying advances in nanotechnology to cure injury and disease.
Damn, they gave private industry working nanites? That's like giving Elon Musk a Marty McFly hoverboard to work with. Wallace's teenage daughter, Sharon, has leukemia, which isn't responding to the standard treatment. So, in desperation, he tried to use the nanites to cure his daughter. Only thing is, this stuff isn't even in alpha yet, so he needs someone to try to sort this out before Sharon dies.
Right, so Jeannie was just the bait.
No. From what I could tell, she had a firmer grasp of the coding than you did.
Yeah, well, you thought assimilating your daughter was a good idea. Who are you to judge? So while they work on trying to save Sharon, Shepard and Ronan are on the case, but there aren't many leads. They try digging through some corporate records where everything keeps pointing at a group called the Trust that are a recurring Earth bad guy group for our heroes. Although at this point in the show, I believe that they were Well, in a bit of a shambles, which might be why Shepard suggests looking elsewhere. Ronan agrees and leaves to go look for some food.
What? You want my help dissecting corporate structures? When you find someone to point a gun at, you let me know.
All right, well, this approach is why you remain the Ben Grimm of the team. Back at the evil lair,
You lost me at nanites.
Hey, idiot, we need to solve this coding problem.
there's a disagreement on methodology. Jeannie thinks they need to work on the cure. Wallace said that he'd let them go then. Rodney points out that even if Wallace was willing to go to prison for forever and lose his company too, that would only be if they succeeded. What's he going to do if they fail? He gave an intentional silence when that was broached before. Wallace has no one to blame but himself for this, including injecting his daughter. I mean, really, we had a guy die from cancer just last week who could see the future. You think if suddenly a working cure for cancer was going to be available next week, he wouldn't have known about it? Nah, he would have said something. Rodney unlocks all the doors and has memorized the building layout so that they can escape. Into the hallway, where they can bicker and utterly fail to figure out how to get out of the building. They get tased and locked to their chairs, where Wallace has the nerve to act as if they're the assholes here. When Rodney points out that when a guy who violated a dozen laws, including multiple kidnappings, security clearance, and using his own daughter as a guinea pig with alien technology says, "Trust me," it's a bit hard to say, well, I have no reason not to take a chap at his word. As I said on Monday, people who think they're going to die anyway don't have much incentive to cooperate. So to incentivize them, Wallace injects the nanites into Jeannie. So if they don't solve the problem, she'll die too. Oh, she won't ever let this go. So, fully invested in the outcome now, Rodney and Jeannie decide to work on loosening the restraining code of the nanites, since that's what seems to be causing them to fumble about the body like lost tourists, unsure of what they should be doing. Let's just, try to avoid a gray goo situation, gang, okay? It'd be very annoying if a programming glitch caused the end of the world. I like the Earth. I've moved all my things here for convenience. They send off the completed code and wait anxiously to hear what happened, so Jeannie decides to pass the time by discussing his girlfriend.
So are you going to marry her?
I don't know.
You've been dating for over a year now.
I'm aware of that, thank you.
You think you're going to find someone better?
No, it's not that.
Because you're not.
Hang on.
The fact that you found a nice girl who's willing to put up with all your many little flaws is a miracle.
I think I made a mistake. Rodney is the one being tortured.